Welcome back. In other videos, we've thought about how to use our three-step process in our supply and demand model to think about a shock to a market. But what happens if there are multiple shocks taking place at the same time? So it turns out it's really not all that different. We can just work each shock individually and then put those results back together. So let's work through an example. Let's look at the market for bicycles. So these are fully built bicycles available at the bike store, right? Not parts, complete bicycles. So we're going to look at the market for bicycles. And for our shock or our events, let's assume two events take place. The price of tires increases. So the price of tires increases, and the price of gasoline increases. So how do we go through working through a complicated problem like this where we've got multiple things going on? Well, it turns out it's relatively straightforward. So if we just think about our first event, so event 1 plus event 2, we can end up with our outcome. And we want to think about the outcome in terms of price and quantity. So we're going to want to do this for price and for quantity. All right, so let's go ahead and work through it. So our first event, if we're looking at the market for bicycles, so we've got price, quantity, throw in a supply curve, throw in a demand curve. So we'll call this P1, Q1. This is bicycles. And we said our first event was the price of tires rises. Right? So the price of tires increases. So using our three-step process, which curve does that affect? The price of tires, oh, that's an input in the bicycles, so this is going to be a story about supply. And if an input is rising in price, what's going to happen to the supply of bicycles? It's going to decrease. It's going to shift to the left. Left is less. All right, so supply shifts to the left. And what happened? When supply has shifted to the left, the price of bicycles has increased because the price of tires increased, and buyers are going to buy fewer of them. So what's our result? Is that price increased and quantity decreased. All right, our second event, let's work it. So price, quantity, throw in a supply curve, put in a demand curve, mark in our initial equilibrium. So P1, Q1. And again, we're looking at the market for bicycles. Okay, what was our second event? The price of gas increases. So the price of gas increases. So now we need to use our three-step process. So if the price of gas increases, which curve is that going to affect? Well, if the price of gas goes up, it's more expensive to drive places, so maybe people ride their bicycles. It's more expensive to cruise around for entertainment, so maybe they go ride their bicycles for entertainment. This is going to be a story about demand. Maybe the hardest part is just figuring out which side of the market are we looking at, which curve. All right, what happens to the demand for bicycles? Well, if the price of gas goes up, more people are going to want to buy bicycles, so demand is going to increase. It's going to shift to the right. So demand is increasing. At every price bicycle, people are going to want to buy more of them. Right? If the price of gasoline goes up, more people are going to want to buy inexpensive bicycles to commute as an alternative to driving their car. More people are going to want to buy expensive bicycles as alternative entertainment. This whole curve has shifted to the right. So the price of gas goes up, this affects demand, demand increases. Our third step was draw it in and see what happens. So what happened? More people want to buy bicycles. And that does what to the price? It drives up the price. So the price of bicycles has increased and the quantity of bicycles has increased. Okay, so what was our original question even? Our original question was what happens in the market for bicycles if both of these events take place? And we said that we can get there by working each event and then looking at the outcome. So our first event was that the price of tires increases, and what does that do in the market for bicycles? Well, that pushes up the price of bicycles. Plus, our second event, which was gas was increasing, what did that ultimately do? It pushed up the price of bicycles. So what's the net effect of both of these, or the total effect of both of these events taking places? Well, if the first event is pushing the price of bicycles up, and the second event is pushing the price of bicycles up, it must be that the price of bicycles is increasing. All right, what about quantity? So our first event, the price of tires increasing, this pushed quantity down, decreased quantity. What about our second event, the price of gasoline increasing? Well, it pushed people to buy bicycles, so it put upward pressure on quantity. So what's our net effect? What's a decrease plus an increase? Our answer is we don't know. How cool is it to actually have a time where you can say, I don't know, and that's the right answer? Now, we don't want to say, I don't know as an answer. We need a more technical term for it. So we would say that the effect is ambiguous, which effectively means we don't know. So why do we not know? Well, it depends on how large these shifts are. If the price of tires increasing only moves the supply curve a little bit, but the price of gas increasing moves the demand curve a whole lot, then maybe we have an effect where quantity increases. But maybe it's the reverse, right? So maybe supply is shifts to the left a lot, but the effect of gasoline prices, that doesn't really do anything in the bike market, right? So maybe the demand curve only moves a little bit. In that case, we have a decrease in quantity. Regardless, the reason we end up with this question mark is because when we have opposing directions or opposing effects, unless we know the size of those effects, we can't tell what the total effect is, what that final outcome is, so we call that ambiguous. Hopefully now you've got a good feel for how you can work through multiple events, multiple shocks in a market using our supply and demand diagram and our three-step process. Simply work through the process for each event and then add them up and see what your total effect is. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.